Hello. So, my plan for my Selenium conference talk, there we go, is to begin by introducing everyone to Docker, and also doing a survey of the crowd to see how familiar everyone is with Docker, and then sort of scaling how deep I go into the topic of Docker itself based upon how familiar everyone is with it. After that, I want to talk about Docker Swarm and sort of how it differs from regular old Docker. And again, that'll sort of be based upon how familiar everyone is with Docker versus Docker Swarm. I want to also briefly talk about how I went about setting up my Docker Swarm in AWS. Docker provides a cool CloudFormation template to make it pretty easy. But I'll also want to briefly go over from a high level how to set up Docker manually if AWS isn't an option, or Docker Swarm if AWS isn't an option. After that, I want to discuss how to actually make the Selenium grid stack in Docker Swarm, specifically talking about how the Docker Compose file is made and what the different components of that are and what they all mean, and then also how to go about deploying it to the Swarm. Following that up, I want to discuss how to actually target that stack with your Selenium driver. Specifically, I'll be using the Ruby Capybara library, but it applies pretty much the same way to any Selenium driver, or at least anyone that's already using some sort of, whether it's browser stack or if you've got your own Docker or Selenium grid that currently isn't scalable. It's all pretty much the same. There's a URL that you hit. But there are a few details that are worth mentioning. And then after that, final thing that I want to talk about is just lessons that I have learned over this process. For example, how many resources to dedicate to the nodes that you're using, how to go about monitoring your Docker Swarm, and a few other things to look out for. Additionally, I'll be sure to make sure to put all of my code up on GitHub, and of course, take questions at the end. Cool. Thank you.